Y'all thought I was going to wait for it to count down all the way? Come on now. You know this. This is the Vince Wilson Show. We don't let a timer go. Whoa. Had a little bit of the background going on. Welcome in, guys. Welcome to the Vince Wilson Show. We are back and great like ever, okay? We've had a lot of news going on. Welcome in, Yapachino. I don't know what your name is, but I work with it. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody who's coming in. Make sure as you're coming in, you're hitting that like, subscribe, notification bell. Let's get pushed out there. Today, we are back to regular news. I hope you're excited. I know I am excited, just like you guys are. So we've got a lot to cover. We're going to be covering, for example, we're going to be covering the economy. There's been some crazy stuff going on with that, with the labor statistics. We're going to be covering some random things here and there. And then we're going to watch the press conference. We're going to watch some of the Donald Trump videos because that's what we do here. You guys love it. So that's what we're going to do. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. It's a weekend. I've got some excellent news for all of you guys out there, by the way. We will repeat this as well. We are going to be trying to stream from the road next week. That is changed from what I was initially going to do, which was do TikTok lives. I've seen that I can possibly be able to stream through a hotspot on my phone. I think it would be excellent, pretty easy to do. Upload speeds are okay. They're not great, but they're pretty decent. So I think I'll be able to do pretty good there. But we got a lot to cover. I'm excited to cover it. I hope you guys are excited to cover it. Let's get into it, okay? We're just going to jump straight into it. First things first, we've got the employment numbers, okay? So, Donald Trump has been touting the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for a long time. By the way, guys, I got a nice fresh cut. I hope you guys appreciate it, okay? I actually think I'm looking pretty good, okay? I'm looking pretty good, all right? The hairdo before was like combed over. This is nice cut, beard trim looking on. Look at that. Beard trim's looking good. I'm excited. All right, let's get back to this. So, Donald Trump has been boasting all about these job numbers for the past year. We've heard MAGA do nonstop complaining about Joe Biden's job numbers, right? And how he can boost up the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Well, that's changed the tune. Why might that be? That changed up because Donald Trump got disastrous news today. Let's dive on into it. So we could see U.S. employers announced 62,000 job cuts in July, up 29% from June and 140% from last year. This is according to ADP. Over 800,000 layoffs have been announced so far in 2025. And let's be very clear what announced means. There have been several industries, including oil and gas, by the way, that sat there and determined that they are going to be laying off workers. Yes, you heard that. Oil and gas, the one industry. We've also seen where manufacturing jobs have stagnated. They've stalled. And in some cases, they've lost jobs. But we'll get to that. So the next thing we see here is Varney asking Burgum, saying, I thought we needed all forms of energy, including wind, to power AI, but it looks like this administration is killing the entire wind industry. Is it? Burgum says we're ending the last 33 years of highly subsidized preferential treatment for certain forms of energy, particularly wind and solar. They want to get rid of wind and solar because Donald Trump went over to Scotland and said, guess what? He said, look, I don't like the windmills being in view of my golf course, guys, and the birds and the whales and everything else, right? So, yeah, pretty crazy. Take a second here to address everybody coming in. Hey, guys, as you're coming in, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Don't forget that. Doing Work said, Trump's hair looks better. Listen, Trump's hair is not even real. From my understanding, he used plugs. Great Divide. Hey, Doghouse, keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Great Divide. Welcome back in, buddy. Nick Bowling saying, so full of shit. CDS. Okay. Talk about the border numbers. Well, sir, you're going to have to calm down on that language. If you want to use a certain language, totally can do that. I'll give you 30 minutes and then you can come back. So let's get back into it. So Anthony Scaramucci then posted so Donald Trump took to Truth Social saying Jerome Too Late Powell has done it again. He is too late and actually too angry, too stupid. This comes on the heels of finding out that Donald Trump saw 3% GDP, Jerome Powell did not decrease the rates like he wants them to. Jerome Powell did not decrease them. And so what he has now done is gone on to Truth Social and said, Jerome Too Late Powell has done it again. He is too late and actually too angry, too stupid, and too political. Ironic, given the fact that Donald Trump wants to put in a political stooge into the Federal Reserve. to head the Fed job of Fed chair. He is costing our country trillions of dollars in addition to one of the most incompetent or corrupt renovations. By the way, it's ironic that he's saying this because guess what? Donald Trump just signed into place the big, beautiful bill that, guess what, is going to cost the American taxpayer $4 trillion. Not the American taxpayer, but it's going to increase our debt, right? It's $4 trillion. And Scary Richie said, Powell has generally done a good job. I don't generally post the president's nonsense, but far and wide, we have to see how unhinged and how normal all of this is. And then we come to today. Listen to this, y'all. Just listen to this, okay?
The NASDAQ down about 200 going... 73,000 jobs. 73,000 jobs created in the month of July. Number just coming out.
And that's total.
4.2% at the unemployment rate.
Then we got the news. The news of the day. The news of the day was that we only showed 73,000 jobs were added. But that's not all. We also saw that there was revisions to May and June. The revisions for those May and June jobs totaled 250,000 down. Now remember when Joe Biden had those revisions down, MAGA said, whoa, 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 that's an issue. That's an issue. But here it is now. The revisions are going down. And guess what? MAGA and Donald Trump are crying like children. They are crying like the children who got their toys taken away. And they want to do everything they can to try and fire the bureau, the person that's the head of the, I'm blanking so hard on that person's name, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Then we have ASIN coming in with this tweet from Trump, or this True Social. I was just informed that our country's job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McIntyre, the commissioner of labor statistics, who faked the job numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. This is the same Bureau of Labor Statistics that overstated the job growth in March of 2024 by approximately 818,000. See what they're doing here, right? He's trying to sit there, and I guarantee you they ran with these numbers. They didn't call them fake then. But now they are. In August, September, 112,000. These were records. No one can be that wrong. We need accurate job numbers. I've directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee. Now, here's the funny thing about this. Guess what? Good old J.D. Vance voted to confirm this commissioner for Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this comes after, by the way, Donald Trump ended up pressured the Smithsonian to remove his name from the impeachment exhibit in the American History Museum. You remember when Republicans sat there for so long and said, well, just put the statue in a museum. It'll be fine in a museum. It won't go touched. You can still learn about it. Well, what happens when the museum feels pressured by an administration to remove their name from an exhibit? Are you going to put it in the exhibit? Are you going to put it in the museum then? What happens when they go, you know what, we're just going to get rid of those statues. We're going to break them down and melt them. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm sorry. Republicans didn't say put it in this. I'm sorry. Republicans did not say put it in the museum. Liberals did. Republicans wanted it out in the open, but the problem is when they're out in the open, same thing, right? They're out in the open. You're going to learn about history. We love history. Now they don't live history because it's their guy. So then we had this, in my opinion, today's job numbers were rigged in order to make the Republicans and me look bad. Just like when they had 3 great days around the 2024 presidential election, and then those numbers were taken away on November 15th, 2024, right after the election. When the job numbers were massively revised downward, making a correction of over 800,000 jobs, a total scam. Jerome Tule Powell is no better, but the good news is our country is doing great. It's doing terrible. Guys, I want you to take a look at this chart here, okay? Look at this chart. Look at this graph. Look, you can see over here, barely anything. And I don't know if I have this up, but this job numbers, I think I have it over here. Where is it? It's over here. Yes. So I don't have it up, but basically these 75,000 jobs that were created, a majority of them were in healthcare and government. We've lost 11,000 jobs in July. We lost 11,000 manufacturing jobs. Let that sink in. The same sector that they sat there and were so excited about that they were going to bring back jobs. Well, guess what? The GDP came back and showed that, guess what? Automotive manufacturers are not exporting automotives or any automotive parts. Good exports are down. The reason why the GDP went up is because imports are down, massively down. So think about this. Imports are massively down. We're not exporting enough. What does that mean? That means that companies are shutting doors. And then we had this. So Donald Trump was asking all about sorts of job numbers and how, these job numbers were inflated and everything else. But here's Donald Trump right here from April 4th of 2025 from the White House. The March jobs report exceeds expectations with 228,000 jobs. The golden age has begun. And here he is saying great job numbers, far better than expected. It's already working. Hang tough. We can't lose. He was excited about those job numbers then. Didn't complain about them. Had no worry about it. One second. Wife came home. The wife came home and the dog started going crazy. All right, back to it. Look, y'all, more people came in here to see my chair. That's crazy. Okay, so let's get back to it. And then we had this. JD Vance 4 hours ago, just 4 hours ago, saying the jobs report is actually great. I was told 6 months ago that Americans losing jobs and the foreign-born gaining jobs was an irreversible demographic fact. Turns out you just need a new president and a new immigration policy. They were so excited for this jobs report. And in fact, I believe I have this up. Let's see if it's the next one. It should be. Okay, we don't have that one up. But there was the U.S. labor that came out. I believe it was labor. Anyways, they came out and they said, or Commerce, it might have been Commerce Department. They came out and said, we got 75,000 jobs. Every single part of this administration was cheering on these jobs until Donald Trump came by and said, you know what? No, we want to get rid of them. We want to get rid of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We want to get rid of the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, one that JD Vance voted in. And we have here, so this is, we're getting to another topic. So basically, what we're having right now is we have seen the GDP reflecting that the economy is stagnating. Eric said it in chat, stagnant economy. Nobody is hiring, okay? At least nowhere that it matters to the American consumer other than healthcare and government. We see that inflation is creeping up in the sectors that we would expect it to creep up. We see that certain companies are coming out and saying that we are going to increase our prices. Guess what, guys? We are heading straight towards a recession and economic turmoil. Granted, our GDP did not decline. But rest assured, the direction that we are seeing right now, May and June's job numbers went down and they got revised. July's will be revised too. And my guess is based on this trend, okay? You see how these two went down? Okay, this went down from like being way up here. This is going to come down to meet these two right here. I would not be surprised if we come here in the next couple of months and we see that July actually went down significantly. And we see some people in here in chat. I'll read some of the chat. Stagnant with 3% growth and 2% inflation. Again, Roman, it's funny to me because MAGA, again, I actually made a TikTok about this and how MAGA loves to just look at 3% GDP and they don't want to dive into what makes up those GDP numbers. The reality is that 3% GDP showed a decline in investments, specifically to non-residential investments, okay, being like, say, manufacturing warehouses. Yeah, that declined. Okay. We saw, for example, where imports declined, exports of like automotive parts and goods, just goods in general, declined. The reason why we've seen such a high GDP is because of that. So don't just look at the 3%. And 2% inflation is, guess what? 2% inflation. It's actually 2.7. It's gone up. What's holding it down right now? As a matter of fact, I can pull it up real quick. Let me see if I can pull it up. What's holding it up right now is a lot of the ones that are already massively overinflated, but they're coming down. So look, let me show you this. They're coming down as the other ones are going up. So let me show you this real quick. CPI, was it June? It was June. Oh, here you go. This is perfect. So you can see here different kinds. Where is it? Used cars and trucks, right? Those went up 2.8%, 0.2. You have some that are coming. That's what I meant. Those ones that are coming down, they're going to go up. You can see here that energy commodities are down by 7.9%, but they're going to go up. And you can kind of see that trend playing out here too. So, I mean, look at this. It was down 2.4 and it's going up by 1. It was down 2.6 and now it's going up by 1. So that trend is keep going. That's why we say it's a lagging indicator. It takes a little bit of time for this to pop up. So we're going to see prices increase. CPI is going to dramatically increase. And there's been suggestions that Donald Trump has gutted the Bureau of Labor Statistics to the point of where they may not even be able to give accurate numbers. Okay. So that's a big issue as well. Let me read the chat a little bit. Jenny Yellen has entered the chat. Guy under Biden in my shop went from 450. Guy under Biden in my shop went from 450 people to 120. Sure. I'm not denying that Donald Trump did not have I'm not denying that Joe Biden saw job losses. I'm not denying that under Joe Biden, we saw record inflation. Not because of Joe Biden. We're screwed. I would probably say to some extent, Randall, and not to mention Donald Trump is now getting rid of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So any kind of measure that the world uses for the United States is pretty much out the window because they can't trust them. Will immigrants spend money in some way to the economy? I bet boot stores are going out of business. No immigrant workers. Should we reinforce immigration policy? Absolutely. Is it thin line? Will immigrants spend money in some ways to the economy? I bet boot stores are going out of business. No immigrant workers. Should we reinforce immigration policy? Absolutely. Is a thin line. Yeah, I think that when it comes to immigration policy, this is also playing a factor into this, by the way, as well, right? A lot of people are not showing up to work. They're being deported, whatever it may be. And that's playing a role into our economy as well. It's a role that most people don't think about. Biden's economy, LOL. Nobody with a brain will invest in a country that's stacking the numbers. Yeah, exactly, Ryan Ford. Nobody's going to invest in a country that's going to stack the numbers. You're 100% correct. When you look at Donald Trump's policies prior to Joe Biden, he absolutely ruined that inflation for Joe Biden. That was Donald Trump's. And keep in mind, people forget that we were under Donald Trump's TCJA policy up until like 2024. So a lot of that inflation was under Donald Trump's tax plan. Hold on one second. Let's see. Understand that we are living under a fake economy. Donald Trump is getting rid of the waste, of course. So you're going to see unemployment go up, but we can't continue to pay for jobs that aren't needed. Greg, the problem is what's happening right now is Donald Trump is getting rid of jobs that he can't get rid of. And so people are being sent home without actually working. You talk about wasteful spending. Not to mention, when we talk about wasteful spending, how about we talk about the fact that Donald Trump is building a $200 million ballroom on the east wing of the White House. Talk about wasteful spending. Talk about all the golf trips that Donald Trump is taking down to Mar-a-Lago, which, by the way, he's doing again this weekend. So spare me that. Spare me that idea that Donald Trump is the man for fiscal responsibility. I'm British and we don't blame Biden for his 4-year catastrophe because we know he was never in charge of his administration. Okay, whether he was in charge or not, he definitely was in charge. He was very coherent, whether you want to say it or not. And if you want to say that Joe Biden is not coherent, then you would necessarily have to say that Donald Trump is not coherent either. Man, Trump followers really have no clue. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. Donald Trump doesn't collect a paycheck. Donald Trump has his own money to do that. No, he doesn't collect a paycheck, but he collects a lot when, for example, he did a crypto dinner to get access to the president. We can talk about all the times that Donald Trump has sold the Trump phone, the Trump hat, the Trump Bible. Donald Trump made $1 billion, I think it was, during his first term. How about all the times that they're having to go to the Mar-a-Lago golf courses? Secret Service is having to go there. Remember that or the whole fiasco? Yeah. Guess what? Donald Trump is taking a trip down to Mar-a-Lago every weekend. That's the taxpayer money going straight into his pocket. You think they're staying at his resorts for free? They're not. Inflation began with the first 10 days of Biden administration when he declared war on fossil fuels. It's funny when they talk about that because, again, Donald Trump is losing jobs right now under the oil and gas sector. This is happening right now under Donald Trump. Chevron has announced layoffs. Several oil and gas industries, and I'm telling you this from personal experience, are laying off workers. Why? Because guess what? They may need equipment. Guess where that equipment comes from? Overseas. It's going to be more expensive to operate that well than it was previously. It's not the oil prices that are shutting down wells. It's the fact that it costs them a ton of money to ship in products to operate their wells. He actually does collect the paycheck. He just said he wouldn't, and he charges Secret Service full price for his hotel rooms that he acquired. Exactly, Peter. Hi, soon-to-be former Fed employee. Hi, soon-to-be former Fed employee took the DRP. Thanks for paying me to stay at home and play Call of Duty. Yeah, pretty much, Joe, right? Okay, I see what you did there. But you're right. Donald Trump is sending all these workers home. Thank you for the subscription, Morgan. Appreciate it. So then you see Trump is a POS when he wakes up. Then he proceeds. Okay, yeah. Oh no, some places that are laying off, not the first time, def not the last. Okay, let's continue on with this. All right, so then we have Tommy Tuberville. Now we're going to get into the topic of immigration. So let's talk about immigration for a minute, okay? Tommy Tuberville says, it's unfair Chinese students study in the U.S. and take everything they possibly can with them in terms of anything they learn. And as Call to Activism says, shout out to him, great guy. That's literally what education is. They come here, and it's just they're honing in on Chinese students. I wonder why. They're not worried about all these other immigrant children. No, they're worried about Chinese students. That's the whole point of the reason why they're here on a foreign exchange student visa, because we want to try to educate the world maybe and try to make sure that everybody functions the way it's supposed to function. And then we had this. Senator Moreno said, I'm going to call on all federal agencies to review the funding that we provide Cincinnati. For anyone unaware, there was a massive brawl that broke out in Cincinnati. The right is trying to say that it is racially motivated. I've not looked into the video. Nonetheless, he's saying, I'm giving the leaders of Cincinnati 1 month to come up with a plan to protect the civil rights of these citizens. And if they don't, I'm going to ask these agencies to suspend all federal funding, taking a playbook right out of the Donald Trump playbook. That's exactly what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump has sat there and refused to give federal funding over to California, especially after the wildfires. We can remember when Puerto Rico was going through a hurricane and Donald Trump held that funding. We can talk about the South Carolina hurricanes. That happened and they did not see like 99% of the funding. And then we see here Tom Homan saying 70% of everybody we're arresting right now is a public safety threat. The other 30%, well, that's national security. Yes, the mother who's going to the store with their child has not committed a single crime here in the United States, short of, if you want to say, crossing the border. Oh my God, has been arrested. We see numerous green card holders, numerous U.S. citizens that have been arrested. Please make the case to the American people how this is a national security threat, not just a local community threat. No, a national security threat. Please explain that to me, please. Then we saw that a federal judge has blocked Secretary Noem's move to terminate temporary status for Nicaragua, Honduran, and Nepali immigrants, finding the cancellation was likely rooted in racial animus. The freedom to live fearlessly, the opportunity of liberty, and the American dream, that is all plaintiffs seek. Instead, they are told to atone for their race, leave because of their names, and purify their blood. The court disagrees. Pending before the court is plaintiff's motion to postpone effective date. All right, so then we have this, a January 6th defendant. I think we're actually, we're moving on to some other stuff. So there's not a whole lot on immigration, but basically what I'm trying to get at here is that this is kind of going to the wayside a little bit with all the news with Epstein, with all the news surrounding the economy being in absolute turmoil, okay? And right now the world is at war, essentially. All that's kind of gone on the wayside with immigration, but they are certainly still out there. There are still ICE agents waiting right outside courtrooms to pick up innocent undocumented immigrants. Trump's entire presidency up to this point has been a play-by-play reenactment. Sure, Armageddon. I mean, and I'm about to show you something that I invoked something. I'll show you in a minute. We don't want Americans in Canada. Please stay out. We don't trust you guys at all. Dan, I trust me. There are some decent Americans. Look at me, okay? I'm a decent American, although some of the MAGA people would probably beg to differ. The reality is that even tourism is down here in the United States. Okay, Las Vegas has seen stark declines in their tourism numbers. All right, we're going to go ahead and ban you. Thank you, Spectre. Crazy, bro. Crazy. All right. Let's see. Rearranging some things, half-truths, which is pretty normal. Sir, you're insane. I now live in Concord, North Carolina. Donald Trump doesn't control the weather, and he had nothing to do with FEMA because he was not in charge. That was Biden. I'm not talking about that, sir. Sir. Greg, let me go ahead and pull this up. South Carolina, I think it's South Carolina, did not receive, I think it's 99% federal FEMA funds. I think it's FEMA funds. Let's see. Oh, it was North Carolina. It was made in 27th. Here you go. Pull this up for you. Hold on 1 second. PBS is about to be, unfortunately, gone. So we can see here, North Carolina denied 99% of federal recovery funds for Hurricane Matthew as of May 11, 2017. That was 2017. Donald Trump refused to get funding. Okay. So next. You try that game. I promise you, I'm not going to say anything that isn't factual, but you can try. You can try to catch me off guard, and that's totally okay. Bro, so I went through your videos. Where were the videos complaining about Biden effing America up? Honest, legit question here. So first and foremost, I had only really started strongly streaming quite right around August of last year. I had done streaming on and off for the past couple of years, but never really consistently. And if you go through the videos, I can't point you to which one exactly, but I have been very critical of, for example, Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan in the terms of sending out stimulus checks. I don't think that helped this issue. I don't think it caused the issue, but I don't think it helped the issue. So again, you can go through my videos and try to find that if you would like, but they're there. More farms have filed for bankruptcy in Trump's first 2 months than a year on Biden. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to say that he's for farmers, but he's also harming farmers by, for example, tariffing countries that bring in feed for these livestock farmers or for certain fertilizer or certain ingredients that they need to be able to fertilize their fields and things of that nature, or even labor, quite frankly. Hey, guys, we got 200 people in here. Do me a huge solid favor. Please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. It pushes us out of the algorithm. If you feel like you're so inclined to go ahead and donate to me, by all means, feel free to do that. We do have a super chat goal going right now. So yeah, and it's going to end in like 17 seconds, but feel free to do that. Quit lying, you piece of crap. Congratulations, cats. What an enticing argument you've made. I'm so changed. MAGA's lost in the orange colt. These people will not get it until it affects them. Yeah, Bert, that's exactly it, right? Is that MAGA operates on this weird kind of environment that they love anecdotes. If it doesn't affect their personal life, they're so detached from reality, they have no empathy. They have no empathy. They don't care because it doesn't affect them. But the thing that they don't realize is it does affect them. It does affect them. Bro, that's one thing where was the vids about allowing all the immigrants in and doing nothing? Where was the vid Biden pardoned his son and how that was bullshit? So I actually did a video. I didn't do a video on the Biden pardons, but here was my take on the Biden pardons. He's allowed to do them, and that's it. He's allowed to do them. Like just like Trump was allowed to pardon a whole bunch of people. He's allowed to do them. You could say that it wasn't right, but if you want to talk about a conflict of interest, we are more than welcome to have that argument about a conflict of interest with Donald Trump. I am more than happy to have that conversation. Crops are now rotting in the fields because of Trump. Yeah, I've heard that too, Armageddon. They're just kind of sitting there. All right, let's continue on. January 6th, defendant convicted for the brutal beating of an MPD officer lost his bid to FOIA records about the victim officer, in part because Trump's pardon made it root. Webster, a former NYPD officer, had been sentenced to 10 years before the pardon. 10 years! And Donald Trump pardoned that criminal. He is no longer a criminal, but they pardoned him. Because Donald Trump doesn't care about law and order. We also saw Rand Paul saying on voting against the stock trading ban. By the way, there was a stock trading ban that was put into place into office, and I believe Republicans ended up striking it down. We discourage successful people from holding office if Trump were the next president. And some say he might run for a third term, he would be forced to divest everything. He can't run for a third term. Donald Trump is old as shit. Tasteful explicitive. He is old enough as it is. There's no way he's going to, first of all, even if he could run for a third term, he can't. Okay? Like, the idea, it's so hilarious to me to hear MAGA complain about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities when we're watching Donald Trump melt in front of our eyes. You do not have a clue on the message that you're sending out and what it's doing to this planet called Earth. I have no idea. Guess what? I'm a political pundit. You can just click next or swipe up and, you can go to the next video. More than welcome to do that too. I hope you find the light. I grew up as a Democrat. I'm an independent now, and I'm 64. You're a screaming 30-year-old. Hey, you actually got my age right, Greg. Welcome in. Hey, Matt, thank you for that subscription. Hey, Greg, so by the way, I voted for Mitt Romney in 12, okay? I voted for Donald Trump in 16, Ted Cruz in 18, Trump in 20. I did not vote in 2022, and I voted for Kamala Harris and Colin Allred in 24. So try to play that game. I grew up conservative. I was conservative for most of my life. You know what changed me to be a Democrat, a liberal, a dirty liberal? Guess what? It was Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the one who made me a liberal. I know. It's hard to believe. And it's so funny to me because the 64-year-olds are always the ones that are so ingrained in their ideology. They've spent 10 years buying all of their MAGA merch. They've probably got a signed picture of Donald Trump hanging up in their kitchen wall. And you're going to tell me I'm the one that's delusional. Got it. And we're talking about age. I had to look this up. So it's not really anything. There's just using this as a picture. Chuck Grassley's out here. Oh, he's mumbling his way through words. I'll let you play for a second.
What this Durham report is all about, and it gives information that Comey FBI had.
He just kind of stutters his way through it. Guys, he's 91 years old. I'm not even kidding you. Chuck Grassley was born in, I think it was 1933, guys. He is 91 years old. We need younger people in Congress. This is kind of my subtle endorsement of Isaiah Martin, by the way, who's running for the 18th Congressional District currently, unless Republicans decide to get their way in Texas and gerrymander the hell out of Texas. So here's Graham. We're not going to stop till the New York Times and Washington Post, who won a Pulitzer Prize for spreading bullshit, give it back. Republicans are patently against the First Amendment. Let's be very clear here. They may say they love the Constitution. They may say that they love their First Amendment rights and they hate censorship. Guess what? It's projection. It's projection because they love to sit there. And by the way, Lindsey Graham, I think someone in chat said Graham the neocon. Yeah, the funny thing about Graham too is he's a war hawk. He went toe to toe with the former Russian president, and then Donald Trump went to bat for Lindsey Graham. And we'll get to that in a second. Should be coming up on the next one here in a second. We also saw for the Epstein files, senior officials at the FBI's Record and Information Dissemination Section, which handles the processing of FOIA requests, pushed back on the directives. This is according to the Bloomberg article. Michael Seidel, the section chief of RIDS, who worked at the FBI for about 14 years, was quite vocal. The three people familiar with the matter told me Patel blamed him for the failure to send all the Epstein files to Bondi. Then a couple of months ago, Seidel was told he could either retire or be fired, according to the people. He chose the former and quietly let the FBI, the people said, the details related to Seidel's exit. So this kind of goes back to, again, the loyalty thing. And here it is where Donald Trump is going to bat for his boy, Lindsey Graham. Based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, I've ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions. Donald Trump has positioned 2 nuclear submarines near Russia. What was that about Trump being anti-war? This sure as hell seems like provocation. When is MAGA going to sit there and realize that they got played? When is MAGA going to realize that all those jobs Donald Trump promised aren't going to come? When is MAGA going to realize that the anti-war president is drooling for war? When are they going to realize that the person that they wanted to vote against, which was Joe Biden because of his cognitive abilities, is now Donald Trump? They won't realize it. And then we get to this. The Trump's White House concrete rose garden patio is finished. Guys, this is what the rose garden now looks like. Not even a garden. It's a concrete slab. This is it. This is what was so great and so expensive on the taxpayer's dime. Matter of fact, how much did this cost? Let's see. Rose garden renovation cost. Let's see. $100 million. That's $100 million right there, guys. And this is what it looked like before. Here's before. Here's after. Which one looks more pretty to you? I don't know about you. I kind of like this look. This looks a lot nicer to me. I like that one. This one, not so much. It looks boring. I'm about to watch this video in here a second. Let me answer chat. I love you, brother. I just want you to know that you need to come to grips with the fact that there was treason done by Obama, Clinton, Biden's. Yeah, let's not talk about the fact that James Comey came out in 2016. And I appreciate the kind comments, Greg, and I think me and you can have a genuine conversation. I'm a little bit amped. Let's forget the fact that 2016, James Comey came out announcing an investigation into Hillary Clinton during the election. I think it was like 15 days prior to the election. What we found out through Tulsi Gabbard's reports that she released was that the Obama administration did not want to interfere. And so they were trying to find a way to say that, yes, Russia is interfering, but they're not trying to point it to a particular individual. You can see it in the stuff that was released by Tulsi Gabbard. They tore the Washington Roses last time. Yeah, Chrissy, that's what I'm saying. Donald Trump wants to create the new ballroom and the East Wing. Now he's trying to tear up the Rose Garden. Russia never actually interfered at all with the original report. If you look at the original report, the emails that were sent back and forth, they said that it happened. That's what I read. Okay, let's continue forward. Let's go ahead and watch this real quick. President Bonesports has been fooling people his entire life. Yeah, pretty much. Not only are there more jobs, the wages are better. Wrong, Steve. Wrong. There are not more jobs. As a matter of fact, I can pull this up here for you. Let me see if I can find it by, yep, right there. Perfect. Look at it. First click. Here's all of the jobs that were added under Joe Biden. You can see it from 23 to 25. Lots of jobs, lots of jobs. All of a sudden, here's Donald Trump, guys. Here's Donald Trump. Your boy Donald Trump ain't added nothing. And that's because of tariffs. The tariff policy has absolutely been destroyed. The BBB is designed to screw over the average American. The big beautiful bill. Yeah, it's going to absolutely screw over. Yeah, Bert. Illegals were taking jobs. Yeah, that's the funny thing about that, Steve, is I kept hearing about that. The illegals are taking all the jobs, and MAGA's going to fill those jobs. No, they're not. No, they're not. MAGA's not going to fill them. Why? Because MAGA's too lazy to fill them. We lost jobs, and the statistician got fired for telling the truth. Hey, okay, I covered that earlier. Was that they came out and they were like, oh yeah, like I here's Trump. I think I have it up here. Where is it? Here it is. Here's Trump back in April celebrating the job numbers, and now all of a sudden the job numbers are fake. Wrong. The construction field is growing. Wrong. The construction field is not growing according to the new jobs report. In fact, manufacturing jobs are not growing at all. Farmers are hiring. I don't know where they're hiring. I am not absolutely wrong. Here, let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Actually, I'll pull up the July jobs report. It's really easy to pull it up. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up here. July jobs report PDF. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. July 2025. Here we go. All right. Where is it? Here it is. Look at this. Employment showed little change over the month in other major industries, including mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction, construction. Little change. Boy. What was that, Steve? What was that, Steve? Huh? Oh, this is from the BLS. The same one that Donald Trump was upset about. That's leftist propaganda. Yeah, I know. Yeah, facts don't care about your feelings, bud. Facts don't care about your feelings. All right. Let's try to watch a little bit of this. This is not, actually, let's do this in order. We'll watch Caroline Leavitt first, since that was yesterday. And then we'll watch this video and then this one. We might be able to get to it. It's only 8:12, so we will get through some of this.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a lot of news today, and I have quite a few.
You get paid by the DNC? That's a little bit defamatory, don't you think? You get paid by the DNC? You have no evidence of that whatsoever. In fact, I don't get paid by the DNC. I get paid by all of my lovely followers, by the way, as this is a good time for me to say, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you haven't already. And if you're watching this on Twitch or Twitter or X, make sure you hit that like button, okay? Or follow me if you're watching this on Twitch. All right, sounds good? All right, let's continue on.
A few announcements for you, so let's get to it. First,
Maggie, you're global suckers. You guys didn't watch the video, huh? Yeah, they don't watch the video. You got a grant as well? I got a grant? No, I definitely did not get a grant. What does the ADP say? That should be correct. They are the ones that keep track of payroll in the USA. So, Teresa, they showed... Oh, let me pull it up. Here, let me pull it up real quick for you. I do want to watch this, but here, I want to pull up the ADP numbers. Actually, this was the first one I pulled up. It's this one right here. Here. U.S. employers announced 62,000 job cuts in July, up 29% from June and 140% from last year. So that's what ADP showed, is that there are 62,000 job cuts in July. So that's where we're at, unfortunately.
on behalf of the President and the White House, we express our deepest condolences
Yeah, I know, Ryan.
to the
It's pretty
family
sad.
of New York police officer Islam, who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of his fellow New Yorkers. As the funeral services are held in New York City today, everyone at the White House is keeping the officer's family, friends, and fellow NYPD
Thoughts and prayers, guys. Thoughts and prayers. The typical Republican tagline.
law enforcement officers in our thoughts and prayers. The
Told you.
President has always and will always proudly stand with our men and women in blue. May God bless Officer Islam and the other individuals who were tragically killed in this senseless act of violence. In other news, President Trump's working visit to Scotland was a huge success. In less than 48 hours, President Trump broke.
Yeah, a huge success for his business. Donald Trump ended up announcing that he was opening a new golf course in Scotland over the last weekend. Just FYI.
Brokered the biggest, most impactful trade deal in history and prevented a war in Asia for the second time since he took office. We have never had a president who wields the full power of the United States to negotiate good deals for our country and its people like President Trump. This is what maximum leverage looks like. On the peace front, President Trump helped deliver an immediate and unconditional ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. The two countries were engaged in a deadly...
Yeah, again, she's trying to do all this, the Nobel Peace Prize. I definitely don't think that it should be that. So, yeah. And she did a golf. Yeah, you're 100% right, Joe. He did. He threw the caddy walked by and then threw the ball behind him. I remember that one, too. You're a brainwashed MAGA sheep. It's so funny when MAGA comes in here. It's kind of cute. How many floors below ground level are they going on that? On that? What are you talking about? Steve is out here evangelizing hard for this orange messiah. Yeah, there's probably some like MAGA bots that like troll and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Conflict that had displaced more than 300,000 people until President Trump stepped in to put an end to it. The president spoke directly on the phone with the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia.
I don't appreciate you calling me. I'm actually independent. Yeah, the problem with independents and libertarians is they tend to always side with the right. They never really ever go left. There are times where an independent may go left in terms of the general public. There's certainly that possibility, but it doesn't typically happen. Greg, if you're not MAGA, then don't fall in that line. Matter of fact, let me explain to everybody who's watching, all 330 people who should be hitting that like, subscribe, notification bell. Let me be very clear. I define MAGA as somebody who is religiously Trump. Let me ask you a few questions. There's a few defining questions that I look at, right? Which is, how do you feel about J6? That's a good one right there, right? Can you name more, like, can you give me reasons why what Donald Trump has done bad that is not in the mainstream? If you cannot do that, and if you could tell me that you voted for, say, Vivek Ramaswamy, or you would have voted for, say, a Ron DeSantis, you might be MAGA. That might be why. And I use it typically when I can detect that that person is MAGA. And generally speaking, a lot of the Republicans have given way to MAGA. So, yeah, about probably 90% of the Republican Party right now is MAGA.
To inform both leaders that unless they brought their conflict to an end, there would be no trade discussions or agreements with the United States. Almost immediately afterward, a peace was brokered that will save thousands of lives and allowed for trade negotiations with these countries to resume.
What's going on, Sansel?
The president has now ended conflicts between Thailand and Cambodia.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is even remotely true between Thailand and Cambodia. What role did he even have in that?
Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt.
None of these I have any idea of how he interacted with this. None of this. What role did he have in any of this?
And Ethiopia. This means President Trump has brokered, on average, about one peace deal or ceasefire per month during his 6 months in office. It's well past time that President Trump was awarded.
We're just going to ignore, the biggest conflicts, guys. We're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore the Gaza and Israel thing. We're going to ignore Russia and Ukraine, guys. We're just going to ignore the fact that Donald Trump said he was going to end the war in Ukraine on day one. We're going to ignore the fact that Donald Trump said he wants to put a Trump resort in Gaza. We're going to ignore all of that, guys. Oh, we're going to also ignore the fact that Donald Trump went in and bombed Iran. We're going to ignore that, guys. But guys, he helped end a conflict, guys. Get out of here.
The Nobel Peace Prize. I know the topic of Israel is on everyone's mind. I have an update from Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who I got off the phone with this morning. Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and other officials today in Israel on the topic of delivering much-needed food and aid to Gaza. President Trump is a humanitarian with a big heart, and that's
humanitarian. Here, let me show you guys something here. Hold on. He's a humanitarian, right? Hold on, guys. Let me show you this real quick, all right? He's a humanitarian, guys. Remember that. Remember that statement. He's a humanitarian. The Trump administration is about to incinerate 500 tons of emergency food because he made cuts to USAID. Let that sink in. And the federal workers warned for months that the high energy biscuits would go to waste. But he's a humanitarian, guys. He's a humanitarian.
That's why he sent Special Envoy Witkoff to the region in an effort to save lives and end this crisis. Tomorrow,
Yeah, Joe, that's a great question, right? And Donald Trump has yet to have answered that. Mar-a-Lago had underage workers. But so the funny thing about that is, or not funny, is that he mentioned that Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre. Okay? Virginia Giuffre was a minor working at Mar-a-Lago that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited for Epstein. Why was she there, and why did he refer to her as property? There's a whole lot of questions there, 100%.
Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee will be traveling into Gaza to inspect the current distribution sites and secure a plan to deliver more food and meet with local Gazans to hear firsthand about this dire situation on the ground. The special envoy and the ambassador will brief the president immediately after their visit to approve a final plan for food and aid distribution into the region. And we will provide more details for all of you once that plan is approved and agreed on by the President of the United States. On the trade front, the president secured a historic trade agreement with the European Union that puts America first and fundamentally strengthens the economic relationship between the two.
Read through some of these chats real quick. Who cares about Biden? Because all the Dems are on Epstein's list. Okay, again, I don't care who's on the list. You MAGA are so delusional. You talk about Trump derangement syndrome. You talk about Trump derangement syndrome all the time, but yet you guys are the ones that are suffering from it the most. Okay, I don't care if it's a Democrat. I don't care if it's a Republican. I don't care if it's an independent. Release the list in its entirety. Do not try to mark it out, which, again, there's allegations that they are now trying to actively go through and mark them out. Don't give me some of Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony that she is begging for a pardon for. Do not give me any kind of grand jury testimony. You promised the files. Why are you covering up for those files? It's very simple. It's very, very, very simple.
Largest economies in the world. This deal delivers on two of President Trump's core promises on trade.
Greg said, you say a lot of stuff that's not true, but I'm still listening to you. I respect that. I respect that you're still listening to me. But I would ask, what am I saying that's not true?
Supercharging America's manufacturing capacity.
He never promised the files. He said he would release them. Okay. Secondly, a bunch of MAGA conservatives, conservative media pundits, namely Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, two that are in the FBI right now, said they want to see the files. They want to see them, and they're not released. Why might that be?
and opening up foreign market access to American.
Yeah, let's see if I can find those clips real quick. Here, let me see if I can find. Thank you for that. Let's do that. Let's see. There's got to be a clip of him compilation. Trump compilation Epstein files. There's got to be something out here. Let's see. I can't find it. I'm not going to hold up the chat for it.
Businesses. The
If you
deal
got it,
guarantees that
if you got it, Ancom, send it to me. I don't want to spend too much time trying to search for it.
American businesses will have unprecedented levels of access to the European Union markets to export.
Mike says Trump's name is not in the files. Here's the thing, Mike, okay? You would be hard pressed to say that Trump's name is not in the files. For example, let me explain. Trump's name was on the flight logs. Just because Trump's name is in the files does not impugn any kind of guilt. Let's be very, 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 very clear here, okay? But it's undeniable that Trump having connections with Epstein for so long that his name is not in them. You'd be hard pressed to prove that, okay? But what makes it even worse, particularly worse, is that he's covering it up. Why are you covering this up so hard? Right? Why are you for example, okay, this is kind of like if we were to look at it from a criminal case perspective, right? If someone is accused of a particular crime and then they don't have, let's say they don't have, now, by the way, this does happen, okay? This actually has happened where there was an individual in Michigan who did not have, there was no body for this case. There was no body. They did not have a body. They never recovered a body. But there was a bunch of blood in one area of the living room, and they had that he burned some clothes. And then he went and bought some things, right? Let's say that person went out and bought bleach. Okay? You bought bleach, you bought some gloves, you were shown on camera, and you're accused of this particular crime. Do you not think that person looks a little bit guilty? Would the cover-up not impugn that he may just be on those files? That's kind of how that works. Okay?
Our American-made goods. Also, as part of this agreement, the EU will purchase $750 billion in U.S. energy.
So it looks like Ancom has the link for us. Let's go ahead and pull it up if I can maneuver through here. Thank you. I know Ancom. Ancom's over here trying to post the things here. Hold on one second.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I don't need any more. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ancom. That was actually awesome. So what was that, everybody in chat? Everybody in the YouTube chat that was freaking out? Yeah, it's okay, Ancom. That's all right. That's all I needed was that one. I just need one. And this is the problem too, is a lot of MAGA right now they'll run to they're going to run to saying Agenda 47. But we all know that when a candidate makes a statement on the campaign trail and say an interview, they're going to hold that person accountable for that. Yo, what's going on, Amphibious? I want to show some love to my Twitch chat because I know the Twitch chat is kind of like drowned out by the YouTube chat. All right.
To strengthen our energy dominance, reduce European reliance.
Trump said he would release the list, and Democrats spent 4 years doctoring the information. Bullvine, you have bought full into the TDS.
On adversarial sources and narrow our trade deficit with the EU. The EU will also make new investments of...
Yeah, so this trade deal she's talking about, by the way, is investments, is not the way that it sounds. First of all, these countries are going to be taking out loans, and what they're going to be doing is putting it right back into this investment fund, and then the U.S. has to determine how to divvy up those funds. My guess is that it's not going to be able to be done by Donald Trump. It's going to have to be done by Congress. Good luck getting the money out of that fund. And it's non-binding, which means, guess what? They don't have to put really much of anything in there. They don't really have to do much of that. So again, the idea that this is some kind of a miraculous trade deal, we're seeing this time and time again. It's not going to happen. But, to each their own, to whoever they want to do that.
$60 billion in the United States, in addition to the more than $100 billion the EU companies already invest in the U.S.
Hey guys, real quick, we're up to 39 likes from the looks of it. So if we can do me a huge solid, let's at least get to 50. I need 11 people to like that. Let's get to 50 likes. Push this further in the algorithm if you haven't already. Thank you.
Every year. All of these massive purchases and investments will happen by the end of 2028. What we are watching is President Trump rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn. Media pundits said a trade deal with the EU this monumental and beneficial to America would be impossible, but President Trump made it happen.
He didn't make anything happen. Far from it.
The so-called economic experts repeatedly said that the American economy would be in a recession this summer. Well, summer is here. It's almost over. And that recession does not exist. Yesterday, in fact, real GDP growth in the second quarter increased at a 3.0% annual.
They were so confident about the economic numbers yesterday. This was literally, guys, this was like yesterday. And they were so confident about these numbers. And now they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, the jobs report is fake, guys. Jobs report is fake. It's total Democrat nonsense.
Annual rate.
Yo, what's going on, Skins? Dim judges blocked Epstein files. Dim judges did not. You moron, America. I mean, if you want to go that route, Skins, then I can go ahead and just, time you out if you want. I mean, you ain't got to be so crazy. Let me go ahead. Ancom, I'm going to see. I don't know if I'm able to give you the sword. Okay, I can't give you a sword from here. So they've been some effort to show classified files, but as we all know, they can't fix the economy. It's almost like 40 trillion debt. They can try to reduce the size of it pretty greatly. You got 3 people on Twitch. I've got 435 people right now watching on YouTube. You're more than welcome to go on there, Skins. Twitch poll is gone, by the way. Twitch poll is all but gone. MAGA big failures. They have made, where is it here? Trump voters are starting to realize they were duped by the orange turd. Again, no wonder they hate themselves. Yeah, they've got that MAGA fell for it again award. If you can type in Twitch chat, just do hashtag /mod. Okay, let me do that. Don't abuse your mod powers there, Ancom. Just saying, buddy. Let me go and do that in Twitch chat. Let me highlight your name. Got to give you that power. You got the power. There we go. All right, cool. All right, let's go back to it.
Significantly above expectations. President Trump's America First policies are driving economic growth, as he always said they would. And this growth is being driven by the private sector,
I appreciate it,
not the government. Federal government spending fell for a second straight quarter, while real business fixed investment rose by nearly 2% following its first quarter.
Fixed investment rose by 2%? No, it didn't. If you look at fixed investment, it did not raise by 2%. Let me actually pull this up because I actually pulled this up earlier. GDP investments, it's right here, I think. Full release in tables. Here we go. Where is it? Fixed investment. Yeah, right here. Hold on, wait. I want to make sure I heard this right.
Quarter surge. Business fixed investment rose by nearly 2% following its first quarter.
All right. I'm going to fact check Caroline Levitt in real time. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Here's fixed investment. Fixed investment rose 0.08. So I guess what she's and even if she's trying to I think what she's trying to do is combine this with this, and it did decline. What she didn't talk about right here though is look at this structures. So this fixed investment on structures decreased by by 0.33%. It declined by 0.33%. And why that is important is that non-residential structures are things like warehouses and things of that nature. So that she's just not completely correct in whatever she's saying.
Surge. President Trump is right-sizing government spending, reversing the damage done by the Biden administration.
Yeah, exactly, Darren. They just pick a way to try to present the stats. Oh, for example, Darren, this is the whole reason why they say that 0 people were released from ICE custody. Okay, that is a true fact. But that gives the illusion that there were 0 people that crossed the southwest border. When you look at southwest border encounters, there are still people crossing the border illegally under Donald Trump. Let's be very clear about that. There was 9,000 people, albeit much smaller than under Joe Biden, but there's still people crossing the border. It's not closed.
In allowing the private sector to flourish. The same so-called experts claimed that President Trump's tariffs would spike inflation.
Arturo, you can go to all of my videos and see that I was there during, not all of Joe Biden's administration, but I was there for the very tail end of it all.
And hurt American consumers. But
yeah, Ancom, you're 100% correct. Trump admin is the best at cherry picking statistics, make themselves look good. Yeah, I mean, look, Can I blame them for doing it? No, because they have such a terrible economy. But again, it's funny to me, though, particularly funny to me, that Caroline Leavitt got up there at the very first day that she did her very first press conference. She said, I am going to be the most transparent, most honest person from this podium. And she's done everything to us. It's one of those things like you're honest, but you're misleading people, right? And notice she's not wearing a cross necklace like she used to.
Consumer spending growth just accelerated.
Yeah, Long, thank you. I started my channel in 2019. And by the way, 2019, guys, I like to say, subtle brag, I am one of the grandfathers of Twitch poll. Okay. All right. Just saying. I was a conservative at the time, so I don't have a lot of my videos up at that time. But anyways, it's just so interesting how you can not get your big toe in an interview to be involved in these trade deals, but you come on here and tell people what nobody else knows. I'm working off of the information that they're giving us. If the information they're giving us is saying that it's a $300 billion investment, okay, first of all, Japan is not going to be able to put that much money into that, okay, by themselves. They're going to take out loans. They're going to do all sorts of things anyways. It'll be over a period of time, okay? Japan themselves are not going to be the ones that are necessarily funding this. And to be clear, it's non-binding, which means that they could change it up at any minute. Exactly, Long. It took you 3 seconds. Hey, welcome in, by the way. All right.
And inflation remains right on track. For the past 5 straight months, core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2% inflation target. Meanwhile, customs and tariff revenues.
See, and they do this too. They're like, well, it's meeting Fed's expectations or it's lower or whatever like that. Inflation's still happening. And I showed it to you guys earlier where the inflation is happening. It's still happening. And again, the problem with those numbers is that it's a lagging indicator, 1, and 2, they've laid off people at the Bureau of Labor Statistics as it is. So the reliability on those statistics is already called into question.
Have already totaled more than $150 billion since President Trump took office, leading to the first June budget surplus in nearly a...
They don't even pick the right statistics even when they're cherry picking themselves. Yeah, 100% amphibious. There was nothing coming in shore under Biden. Nothing coming in shore. You sure about that? Let's see how much. Let's look this up. How many imports? Oh, what's up, Steve? I got you mixed up, Steve. I don't know how long you've been in here. How many imports under Biden? Let's see. I mean, I'm looking at this one right here. Factcheck.org. This is December 14th of 2022. Under President Joe Biden, U.S. exports of goods and services have increased, but U.S. imports have grown even faster. The more than $3.4 trillion in imports in 2021 was higher than any other year on record. I can't make that up. It's right there. This is from factcheck.org, posted on December 14th of 2022. You can't make it up.
Decade. Those revenues will skyrocket even further starting tomorrow when new reciprocal tariff rates take effect.
And they did take effect. Let me see if I can pull it up while it's playing.
President Trump is restoring America's economic sovereignty by reducing our reliance on foreign countries, boosting investment in the U.S. to the tune of trillions of dollars, and creating hundreds of thousands of high...
Here are the new tariff rates, guys, so that you can see them. So right here, you can see Afghanistan is 15%. Algeria is 30%. They've got a whole bunch on here. 40% for Myanmar. What else do we have? Another higher one. Serbia is 35%. South Africa is 30%. Switzerland is 39%. You like that chocolate? Do y'all like that Switzerland chocolate or what? Guess what? It's going to be a lot more expensive. Syria is 41%. My goodness. NX2. What's NX2? Oh, okay. This is all. Okay. This is a whole bunch of things. All right. But yeah, so they definitely implemented them and prices are going to continue to go up.
Jobs for the American people. With America finally put first on trade and the largest middle class.
Yeah, Paul, who paid for the wall? I know Mexico didn't.
Tax cuts in history and other pro-growth.
Paula said tariffs are not paid by the consumer. You're correct. Tariffs are paid for immediately by the person that's importing. It's the importer, right? The person who's buying that product. However, let's be very, very clear here. Do you think businesses, I like to throw this analogy at conservatives because they love to use this. And this is why having been a former conservative, I know all of the conservative talking points. What would you say about raising the minimum wage to, let's say, $15, $20 an hour? Why shouldn't we raise the minimum wage to $15, $20 an hour? Oh, that's right. Because guess what? They would end up either A, laying off workers, which they're doing. B, they would end up reducing hours, or C, they would end up raising the prices. That is how that works. Companies love to, first of all, think about the fiduciary responsibility that these companies have. They have a responsibility to their stockholders. What do they have their fiduciary responsibility to stockholders to do? To make profits. So what are they going to do? Are they going to eat that cost? No, absolutely not.
Provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill beginning to take effect.
And more importantly, ANCOM, importers will never, ever eat that additional cost. They'll pass it on to the consumer. Not even just that. They will take advantage of the tariffs. They will never come back down. Look at egg prices. This is a classic example. So wholesale egg prices went down, but guess what? Egg prices themselves did not keep up at the same rate and decline as it did on the wholesale market. Why might that be? Because they were trying to make up for the loss, on the most generous response, by the way, was that they were trying to make up for the loss that they had incurred due to the high egg wholesale prices. So companies will not go back down in price. Okay? Those prices are going to be here to stay, and they're going to use tariffs as an excuse to keep those prices high.
The American economy will boom like never before over the course of the next 3.5 years, thanks to the president's vision. Finally, as you all know, the president signed an executive order earlier this year to solve the problem of exorbitant pharmaceutical prices.
Paula said tariffs are paid to a country for the privilege of doing business in that country. They may or may not pass some of their costs on to the consumer, but they still have to remain competitive also. Yeah, see, Paula, the problem with that is, and I appreciate you engaging in pretty decent faith, the problem with that is when the entire market sees that we have and ANCOM mentioned this in the Twitch chat, okay? When they see that they have an ability, when the market, in other words, when you have Walmart that raises their price up by $1, do you think Target's not going to seize on that advantage? The problem that a lot of people think that aren't in business, or at least savvy business, and this is usually from the hustle people, right? The people who are hustling to make money, they don't think about it strategically. If you know that the 4 out of 5 competitors around you are increasing their cost by, 50 cents, would it not behoove you to increase your prices by 50 cents? You may say, well, you're cheaper. More people will buy your product. Not necessarily. There's a lot of psychology that goes into a cheaper product as well. Okay. This is one of the reasons why when people lower their prices, for example, I've had instances where movers, you can see where movers, the people who are like, I've got a beaten up trailer and I can pay, I can charge you $40, but you know that there's this nice shiny building off to the side and they're going to charge you $150. That psychology in your mind of $40, you know you're getting a cheaper product and you're knowing that you are in a much more vulnerable position by taking that person. You are already psychologically inclined to not side with that person. So what I'm trying to say by all of this, because I got way too far into the weeds, is that they're going to increase their costs. They're not going to decrease their cost to stay competitive and take everything. Yeah, that's not how that works. They generally are going to kind of bounce up and down like this as they go up, right? They're going to go, ooh, and then go up. All right, let's continue.
Pricing. According to recent data, the prices that Americans have been paying for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price other similarly developed nations pay. The president is determined.
You see that interview? What's up, Dan? Welcome back in, buddy. You see that interview with Trump where he talks about Caroline's face and lips? No, I don't. And that sounds extremely terrifying. Gas prices competing. I don't know if they're competitive, my guy.
To solve this problem and took further action today. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies' CEOs, and I would like to read you one of these letters to the CEO of Eli Lilly. All of these letters will be provided to you following this briefing. This is to the CEO of Eli Lilly from the President of the United States. On May 12th, 2025, I signed an executive order delivering most favored nation prescription drug pricing to American patients to stop global freeloading and guarantee that Americans pay the same prices enjoyed by other developed nations. Right now, brand name drugs in the United States are up to 3 times higher on.
So I can kind of explain what's going on here, okay? So essentially what we had was that the most favorable nation, okay, or most favored nation, essentially set out saying that certain pharmaceutical companies would give the U.S. the best rate they would not give them a rate higher than other countries around the world, right? And that's why it's most favored nation. The problem with this, and we saw, by the way, the day before this, we saw Oz speaking with Donald Trump saying, I need to speak to you about MFN. My theory on all of this is that because the EU trade deal would spike pharmaceutical prices. So Donald Trump is trying to tell these companies that they are not going to charge us any more. Really bad idea for these pharmaceutical companies, because these pharmaceutical companies that make a lot of their products in Europe and in the EU are going to have to pay that 15% additional tariff. What Donald Trump is essentially telling these pharmaceutical companies is to eat the cost. Now, if you don't like pharmaceutical companies, you'd say, great. But this is direct conflict, because you can't necessarily impose an additional cost onto the pharmaceutical companies without them having to raise their prices. So what might end up happening is that it's actually going to harm the rest of the world. Because guess what's going to end up happening? They're going to want to make that money up somewhere. So they'll charge more money to, say, Europe, or they may charge more money to Asia, or wherever else they may find it. Okay? So again, it's crazy how this works out. I'd encourage anybody looking at it. It's kind of boring, but look into it. It's really fascinating.
Average than anywhere else for the identical medicines. This unacceptable burden on hardworking American families.
I know, Mr. Geek. Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in, by the way. Dan said, Jane, you're crazy. Caroline's fake nose and fake lips. The fact that she's a homewrecker. Yeah, so the funny thing about Caroline Leavitt, not to get too personal about it, because I don't like really attacking, personal arguments. Yeah, Caroline Leavitt is like twice her age of her husband, by the way. Just saying. Republicans Republicans, for all the times they try to accuse the left of being certain kinds of people, it's very interesting that Republicans are always the ones that get caught like this. I'm just saying. But Caroline Leavitt is like significantly younger than her husband. But anyways, that's like drama stuff I don't really like to talk about. Your YouTube chat is wild. Imagine thinking that controlling medicine prices is socialism. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Ancom. It's hilarious to me that now Donald Trump is talking about controlling prices, but they accuse Kamala Harris of price controls when she talked about price gouging. Remember all of that? It's crazy to me to see that.
Ends with my administration. Most proposals the Trump administration has received to resolve this critical issue promised more of the same, shifting blame and requesting policy changes that would result in billions of dollars in handouts to industry. Moving forward, the only thing I will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug price.
Hey guys, do me a favor. We're at 74 likes right now. I want to see that up, baby. Let's get it up, all right? We're at 74. Let's try to make that 100 before we get off. So if you're watching this, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We have 15 minutes to hit this goal, okay? It's free. All you have to do is hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. That's all you got to do. It's free. All right, let's continue going.
And an end to the free ride of American innovation by European.
No, not a problem, Peter. I appreciate everything you coming in here, and I appreciate everybody who's on here. I've seen a couple of people returning. Dan, I've seen Steve Primavera come in here as well. I think Paul may have even. I think Paul may have been in here a couple of times. So I recognize a couple of you guys. So appreciate all of you guys for watching the show. All right, let's continue on.
Other developed nations. Accordingly, I'm calling on Eli Lilly and Company and every manufacturer doing business in our great country to take the following actions within the next 60 days. Extend the most favored nation pricing to Medicaid, guarantee most favored nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, provide for direct purchasing at most favored nation pricing. The President's team, including Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, stand ready to implement these terms. The President expects to further engage with them immediately in good faith to deliver relief.
Yeah, this is going to be extremely difficult for them to be able to enforce this because, again, pharmaceutical companies are going to be like, yo, I want my cut.
For American families. Make no mistake, a collaborative effort towards achieving global pricing parity would be the most effective path for companies, the government, and American.
You're not wrong, Dan. Or not Dan. Who was it? Oh, Joey. Is it just me or does every press briefing sound so aggressive? Yeah, it kind of does. I don't know why.
Patience. But if you refuse to step up, we will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abusive drug pricing practices. Americans are demanding lower drug prices, and they need them today. Other nations have been freeloading on U.S. innovation for far too long, and it is time they pay their fair share. I look forward to your binding commitments to each of these goals by September 29th, 2025, and my team stands ready to assist with implementation questions. Thank you for your immediate attention to this vital national priority. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. Again,
Donald Trump's been doing
CEO
this
of
thing
Key-
too, where he's like, thanks for your attention to this matter. I didn't see this before. It seems like a new thing he's doing. By the way, the funny thing I noticed about this, okay, I know I didn't really put it on X. I was like, man, I really probably should. Take a look right now at this little thing right. Oh, my dog knocked over my red light. That's all right. You know what? We got Democrat blue rocking. My dog knocked over the red light. That says everything. He scratched out whatever that is, which makes me feel like this is, you can see up here it says Eli Lilly. So what I imagine he did was that he like just copy and pasted this for each person individually, almost like an auto pen, right? Kind of like an auto pen.
By Lilly. This letter, in its form, has been designed for each of the 17 major drug and pharmaceutical companies in the United States, and we're happy to provide you the full list. And I believe you will see all 17 letters popping on Truth Social very shortly, so you can look out for those, and I'm happy to take any further questions. Before we get to questions, I do have one other announcement from the White House and from the President.
Oh, here we go, y'all. This is it. This is the announcement, guys.
We are proud to announce that the construction of the new White House ballroom will begin. For 150 years, presidents, administrations, and White House staff have longed for a large event space on the White House complex that can hold substantially more guests than currently allowed. President Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. The White House is one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in the world, yet the White House is currently unable to host major functions honoring world leaders in other countries without having to install a large and unsightly tent approximately 100 yards away from the main building's entrance. The White House State Ballroom will be a much needed and exquisite addition of approximately 90,000 total square feet of innately designed and carefully crafted space with a seated capacity of 650 people, which is a significant increase from the 200-person seated capacity in the East Room of the White House. In recent weeks, President Trump has held several meetings with members of the White House staff, the National Park Service, the White House Military Office, and the United States Secret Service to discuss design features and planning. President Trump has chosen McCreary Architects as the lead architect, which is well known.
Let me go and show you guys what this ballroom looks like. It's insane, and it definitely reeks of like Trump. Let me go and pull this up real quick. So here we go. Here is the ballroom. Here's what it's going to look like off to the side. Here is the other view, another view looking at front of the White House. You can see it off to the side here. And this is the inside, all gold. Reeks of Trump, don't it? Like, looks like Mar-a-Lago. You could see, this is I guess the side of it. Another view of it. Yeah, it's going to cost over $200 million.
For their classical architectural design.
And again, it's going to be paid for. Yo, Joey with the super chat. $10. Let's go, Joey. Welcome in, buddy. I would almost bet you 2 weeks' pay is going to be called the Trump wing. Oh, probably. And keep in mind, guys, the funny thing about this is that it's the East Wing. Guess what's in the East Wing? The First Lady's office. Just saying. Just saying. Yo, Joey, thank you so much for that super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, the architect was like McCreary. I know that's a good point too. Whoever asked about the architect, because the funny thing is like, I wonder what kind of connections they have. Are they another donor? Now they're saying that they're going to cover this. And I think she's going to mention it. This is going to be covered by Donald Trump paying some of it and other donors. And people have been saying, who are these other donors? Are they going to be foreign countries? Just like, for example, the crypto dinner that they had, where there were other foreign people that came in and visited Donald Trump for that crypto dinner. Who are these other donors? I think we ought to know who those other donors are.
And based right here in our nation's capital. The construction team will be headed by Clark Construction, and the engineering team will be led by AECOM. The project will begin in September 2025, and it is expected to be completed long before the end of President Trump's term. President Trump and other donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build this approximately $200 million structure. The United States Secret Service will provide the necessary security enhancements.
This is what I want MAGA to do. I want MAGA to sit there and understand and think about, just think about what you're doing here, okay? You're going to argue, well, Donald Trump is paying for this. You're going to argue to me that this is something that's going to be paid for by other people. Think about the after Trump's gone. You've got the maintenance of it. You've got the security of it. You're paying for this building. Stop thinking, the MAGA have to stop thinking about everything in such a rudimentary, two-dimensional sense, because this is going to cost the taxpayer money. Rest assured of that. And if not for the construction, if not for the maintenance, how of all of these ballrooms now? Okay. First of all, we had 200 guests. Now you can sit 900 guests. That's more food that you got to put on people's tables. That's more decorations, more hours. The taxpayers are paying for this, guys. And it's so wasteful. Just in and of itself is wasteful. They can't, Vince. They're morons. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Dan. They're not big thinkers. They claim to be hard workers, and I get that. But a business person understands that there's so many costs that go into a construction that's beyond the construction of it.
Modifications. The White House ballroom will be substantially separated from the main building of the White House, but at the same time, its theme and architectural heritage will be almost identical. The site of the new ballroom will be where the small, heavily changed and reconstructed East Wing currently sits. The East Wing was constructed...
Well, exactly, Digit. The electricity bill will be insane. Now, I don't know, granted, how the White House works with electricity and where that gets billed. I'm not an expert on governmental billing, but I can't imagine it's going to be cheap. Okay, Michael, you want to... Okay, so we'll go ahead and hide that user. All right.
In 1902 and has been renovated and changed many times, with a second story added in 1942. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has provided the following statement. President Trump is a builder at heart and has an extraordinary eye for detail. The president and the Trump White House are fully committed to working with the appropriate organizations.
The bill offsets the cost until he's gone. It's a trap. Probably, right? Watch, it's under construction. That's a good point. It's under construction. Or this is the problem, right? And this is why I hate the way they use this. It's like the Made in America thing, right? They do Made in America, right? And Made in America is like it only has to be 10% Made in America to have that label slapped on it. So when Donald Trump says he's going to pay for some of it, how much is he going to pay for it? How much are other donors going to pay for it? And how much is the taxpayer going to pay for it? I guarantee you, as much as I'm willing to bet here, that Donald Trump is going to be the one sitting there paying a fraction of it. Other donors are going to pay some of it, and the taxpayers are going to pay for some of it too. We'll see.
To preserve the special history of the White House while building a beautiful ballroom that can be enjoyed by future administrations and generations of Americans to come. In the White House, we will continue to provide the
I'm going to skip through most of this.
Exterior and the interior. I have provided some photos for all of you in the room today. This is the interior of the ballroom space. It's quite beautiful. And then this is the modernized and renovated. We're happy to answer any further questions on that, Jennifer. Since you're so eager, I will go to you. But first, as always, I want to start with our new media team.
Dan said Trump won't pay 1 cent. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I'm trying to be honest on reporting this and saying that, yes, Donald Trump allegedly will pay some of this. I have no idea how much, right? Always be careful of the snake oil salesman, right? That sits there and goes, hey, guys, this tastes delicious. And then all of a sudden you taste it, you're like, hey, it's all right. But then it doesn't do all the other stuff, right? He'll leave the place with a hole in the ground.
Ben Weingarten, why don't you go ahead, Ben?
Thank you. In light of the...
That's a good point, Joey. That's a good point. We know Donald Trump doesn't pay his contractors.
Released the declassification of the annex to the Durham report today. Beyond any potential prosecutions, the outcomes of which will likely be uncertain.
Just like the wall.
What does the president believe justice
100%.
for Russiagate ought to entail? Might it include restitution for those whose lives were upended as a consequence of Russiagate, and perhaps a major reorganization of the national security apparatus?
Well, I think a major organization of the national security apparatus.
Almost $1 billion for the jet. That probably won't be finished until his term is up. Yeah, Boomer. And then guess what? They're going to go in, and then it's going to go to his presidential library, and it's going to become his personal jet.
At least here at the White House within the National Security Council has indeed taken place, and the president entrusts his current CIA director, John Ratcliffe, and our ODNI director, Tulsi Gabbard, to make the necessary changes to ensure classified intelligence, especially that could implement or hurt the national security of our country.
Vladimir Putin in the chat. Russiagate, huh? Caleb said, you could also say that with more room to invite more guests, he may make more money by creating new relationships and getting donors. Who's to say they won't host paid events here as well? That's a good point, Caleb. In fact, it was reported allegedly, and I think it's in this, I think it's in here. We may or may not get to it because I have a hard cutoff at 9. One of the things that she mentioned was that Donald Trump was allegedly hosting the G20 summit at Trump's Doral Resort.
not make its way into the hands of irresponsible actors who want to politicize that intelligence for their own end. Since you brought up the declassification,
wouldn't be surprised about it, Care. He's so desperate his name on something. I bet it somehow will be named after him. I wouldn't be surprised if some manner or another it's named after him. But I mean, to give some grace that I shouldn't be giving, if you look at the Rose Garden, there's nothing of Trump's name, which is shocking. And I'll show you guys this too, the Rose Garden that they did. It's so beautiful. Let me show you this Rose Garden, guys. It's a very beautiful Rose Garden. Look at this Rose Garden, guys. This is what it looked like before. Oh, that's not it. It's this one. This is what it looked like before. All right. Nice, pretty, you know, lots of roses and stuff. This is it now. Just like, listen, this is baffling to me. It's crazy to me. Like, look how beautiful this looks. And then this. It's atrocious. Let's get back to it.
Report that was put out by Senator Grassley today. I'm glad you brought it up because this should be a story every outlet in this room should be covering. This is further evidence that Hillary Clinton approved.
Afterburner said, remember his first fight, the emoluments clause, so now he's profiting. That's the thing too, right, Afterburner, is that he's sitting here and he's like openly profiting off of the president. There's nothing more than this. Let me show you this one here, guys. I saved it for you guys. This to me is the most glaring case of profiting off of the office of the president. Let me go to the White House Twitter page real quick, and I'll show you guys this. It's pretty crazy to me. Let me see if I can find the video here. It should be pretty easy. This was when Trump was in Scotland. Let's do this. Oh, goodness. Trump, Scotland, links. So I can't find it, but basically this was streamed from the White House page. Open this up here for you guys. So this video.
Some conflict, but we've ironed out a lot of it.
So this was a video of the ribbon cutting. This is exactly what it looked like on the X Twitter page. They streamed this ribbon cutting event at Trump's Scotland golf course in Aberdeen. So yeah, that happened.
Approved the Russia hoax against President Trump. Her campaign financed it. Again, she approved it. And the
Trump's using the office of the president as an ATM machine. Yeah, pretty much, right?
FBI and the CIA were both weaponized to, as our director of CIA has said, accelerate this hoax against then candidates and former President Trump. To answer the heart of your question, the president wants to see justice served, and he trusts the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to implement that justice and hold these people accountable.
One more question, briefly, if I may, on a totally different topic. There's been legislation reintroduced in the House and Senate on designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. The Muslim Brotherhood is
Joseph Jordan said, I'm so glad everyone has stopped paying attention to people like you. You know what? This has made me agree with it. Don't pay attention to a screaming toddler. Okay, I don't know if you're referring to me or not. What evidence do you have of that? Of what, Mike? What, are you talking about the Trump Aberdeen golf course? You guys seen that town hall today? Representative Brian Stale got eviscerated. I'll have to take a look at it later, Dan. Matter of fact, we're approaching 9 o'clock right now. So let me switch over to the one cam real quick. Nothing in the Rose Garden yet, but it's on the way. It's got to be big, beautiful placard. Yeah, pretty much, right? Okay, guys, look. So here's the plan for next week. I want you guys to be aware of this. I will be out of town. So what I will be doing is I am going to attempt, no guarantees, but tune in. You'll never know. Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to attempt to stream. I'm going to be so busy during the day. So I'm going to attempt to do my best to try to cover the news as best as I can. I am going to be mobile. So we'll try it out and see how it goes. But I want to let everybody know about that. If not, don't be surprised if I can't get something to work or whatever. So if not, I'll be on TikTok Live instead, at least doing that, and I'll do some debates on there. So that's the plan for next week. So if I'm not showing up, you know why. And then we'll be back to regular scheduling the following week. All right. All right, guys. So listen, thank you everyone for tuned in. Okay. You are awesome. I appreciate all. There was like 400 viewers in here at one time, guys. Seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for those who donated. And I want to say this, if you haven't already liked the stream, it's never too late to like the stream, because then guess what? It gets pushed higher in the algorithm for people who haven't seen the stream. They can rewatch it. Thank you for Joey for donating. And without all that, please make sure you stay informed. Stay frosty. I will see you guys Wednesday next week, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great night, guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Seriously.